Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching NDTV. An important highlight of the ongoing winter session of the Parliament was the Union Cabinet clearing the bills for simultaneous elections. Now, sources have said that these bills could be brought in next week after the House passes the first batch of supplementary demands for grants that have been listed for Monday. Now, the bill paves the way for unified elections across the nation, something that has been on the agenda of the ruling BJP for quite some time now. Now, the process of simultaneous elections itself will not take place till 2034. The provisions of this bill have indicated. It recommends that if the Lok Sabha or any state assembly is dissolved before the end of the full term, mid-term elections for that legislature alone would be held for the remainder of the 5-year term. Now, in the bill, the centre has cited cost, time and the need for uninterrupted governance as reasons for the move. But the opposition, of course, has said that this move will threaten federalism and that it goes against the spirit of democracy. So can we see concurrent polls as a move that could transform India's electoral system? What are the challenges to its execution? What are the realistic chances of the BJP shoring up numbers in its support for this bill? And if it becomes a reality, will it change the way we, the people of the country, look at elections? That's what we'll try and discuss tonight. Joining us now is Dr. S.Y. Qureshi, former Chief Election Commissioner, and senior journalist Neerja Chaudhary. Thank you both of you for joining me on this broadcast. To you, Dr. Qureshi, first. I've been reading you on this, sir, and you've pointed out to certain challenges, including, the municipality elections and the cost of elections. The fact that, we keep talking about cost of elections, but the timeline of it, the bill mentions that the amendments will come into effect on an important date, which the president will notify on the first sitting of the Lok Sabha after a general election. So 2034 is what we, it seems to indicate. How do you see, is that time enough for the ECI to ensure that it braces up to the logistical challenge in terms of EVMs or VVPATs? Do you think those preparations can be done in the next 10 years?
Yes, 10 years actually is a long time. I would put the argument differently that if we are going to implement it after 10 years, exactly what purpose is going to be served, I really do not know. Now, as regards the logistics and its implementation by the Election Commission, the Election Commission has made it very clear that once we have an election, we recycle the machine from Lok Sabha to the other, and all 3 elections, the machines are recycled. But if all 3 elections are happening at the same time, we need 3 times the machines. And the machines are EVM, Central Processing Unit, and the VVPAT. So, and the total cost of this package is about 35,000 or so. Now, imagine I heard the CEC say that they used 55 lakh machines in the recent elections, 55 lakhs. Now, you need 3 times more, which means 1 lakh, 55 million, 55 lakh, that's right. So you need 1 crore, 55 lakh, is it not 3 times? So for 1 lakh machines more, 1 lakh machines more multiplied by 35,000, it is lakhs of crores. So you have to find money for that. And what money are you trying to save? In fact, I have been questioning the basic premise that there is an alternative route of cutting cost. And that is put a ceiling on expenditure by the political parties. At the moment, 95 lakh can be spent by Lok Sabha candidate, and the party spends 5, 10, 20 crores on it, in any case disturbing the level playing field. And put a cap, as we have in UK, from where we borrowed the Westminster model of parliamentary election. Put a cap, 60,000 crore was the estimate in 2019 election by Center for Media Studies. It will come down to 6,000 crores. If you are really sincere about cutting the cost, do that alternative route. So here you are only increasing the cost. And the other argument, it dislocates the normal life and everything is disturbed. That is also exaggerated. If an election is happening in Manipur, Nagaland, Kerala, or anywhere, or Kashmir, how is your life or mine is affected where we are when we are in Delhi or Gurgaon? Even if election is happening in the neighboring district, it doesn't bother us. So the only people who are bothered is the Election Commission, because they have to be everywhere. Political party of that region, they will be bothered. But for normal people, there is no disturbance that life comes to a standstill. That is a wrong and exaggerated notion. and an allegation. Because the model code, I would strongly recommend you and your viewers to download the model code of conduct. It's 10, 15 pages small document. There is only one restriction, only one, that no new scheme will be announced. Everything else will continue. So why is it the ideas for a new scheme comes to the mind of the politicians only 2 weeks before the election and not for 4 years and 11 months when they are in power?
Neerja Chaudhary, what we understand is that the government has also deferred the introduction of the bills related to One Nation, One Election. That's what the revised list of business also shows us. Earlier, these two bills, which is the Constitution Bill and the Union Territories laws, were listed for the introduction on Monday in the Lok Sabha. But now, it looks like it will be introduced later this week. How do you see the path of the bill from here on? In other words, what is it that the ruling party will have to do to ensure that this works? Because clearly this is a politically important, it's a politically important agenda for the BJP. The Prime Minister has been speaking about it since 2014. So they will try their best to make this happen. But I mean, with the reduced kind of mandate that the BJP has, how challenging is it going to be for the ruling party?
Are you asking me or
Yes,
Mr. Qureshi?
Neerja.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yes, it is from what we hear, the Prime Minister has been very keen on this bill. It's been part of the ruling party's manifesto. They've been talking about it. Now that, the bill is ready, both the bills are ready to be introduced and in all likelihood will go to a parliamentary committee. What I feel is that broadly speaking, it needs a lot more discussion. Nationally, because even though you may want to synchronize the elections, the desire for synchronizing elections is more from the political side, the politician side, even though the opposition party people are not for it, for whatever reasons. It is, if you talk to the ordinary people, and I'm not talking, maybe many people in the middle class that you talk to will talk about it will save money. But that also is a question mark. How much money will actually get saved? But it is the politician's perspective that we have to go back again and again and again. Every few months, every few weeks, we have to go and campaign. Now, this is not the perspective if you talk to an ordinary villager anywhere. They'll say, "Arey, 5 saal tak hamare paas aayenge hi nahi." They will forget us completely. They will not show their face. So today they come and promise, we will do this for you. We will build this road or this highway or this scheme will be given to you. And something not enough is done. But 6 months later, they come to us for another election and we can confront them. This has not been done. Another year later, they will come again and we confront them yet again. So the frequent elections, as far as the ordinary people in the villages go, it makes for greater accountability. For the politicians, it's a pain. They have to go back again in the field. But that too, why should the Prime Minister have to campaign in a local election? Why should the Prime Minister even have to campaign in a state election? Of course, we've seen in Haryana and in Maharashtra, the Prime Minister didn't go that many times as he's been used to going. As far as, of course, there are the problems of logistics, which Mr. Qureshi has talked about. Troops, do we have enough? You couldn't even have the Maharashtra election along with the Haryana election because the election commission wasn't confident enough to pull it off. And then we've had West Bengal 7 phases. Suppose you have in certain phases, 5 phases, 7 phases, and you have Lok Sabha as well as all the assemblies together. It's a mind-boggling exercise. Now, people say that it was done, first election took 5 months in 1951-52. Maybe we can take 7-8 months and do it. Maybe one whole year will be allocated to election, followed 100 days later with the local election. But what I'm trying to say is, it just needs a lot more thought. And of course, the whole idea of you will prolong the term of some states, you will cut short the term of some states. Okay, you do that first time. Suppose a government falls halfway into the term, 2.5 years. Do you have elections or do you go in for president's rule? If you have elections, will you give the incoming government a truncated term or what is left, or will you give the incoming government a whole term, which means again the election gets skewed, the timetable gets skewed. So I think there are many issues, and it of course.
Last word from you. You heard Neerja out. I also wanted to ask you, sir, how does this impact the political engagement of netas versus the voters? Because Neerja ma'am also pointed out this one thing, and we as Indians we have this understanding that local issues, bijli, sadak, pani, are for assembly elections, and national issues are for the Lok Sabha elections. How do these issues really eclipse when something like this actually becomes a reality? And also when it comes to a voter's rights to understand and expect from his MLA, MP as to what he wants for the country, for his constituency, how do you see something like this really changing that understanding of his own rights?
Yes, Neerja very rightly pointed out that it doesn't reflect people's sentiment. In fact, I had heard in the beginning of the controversy 11 years ago, Mr. Bhartrihari Mahtab, who was then BJD MP from Odisha, now in the BJP. He says, if you ask the people love frequent elections because this is the only power they have. This is the only importance they have. So when the politicians come to them again and again, they feel important. Otherwise, for 5 years, they just disappear. And how many times have we heard posters being put up, Gumshuda ki talash, missing, our MP is missing, can anybody find him? This is what keeps on happening. Secondly, the issues getting mixed up is a very important thing. If you are living in a village, what is more important for you, our Ukraine policy or the drain in front of your house which is stinking? In which case, you don't want Ukraine policy or Gaza policy to subsume the local issues. The issues are different, the politics is different. And finally, people have mentioned about the attack on federalism. India is a unique country. Right. We should not compare with the small countries here and there. USA is a big country, but from coast to coast, they speak the same language and right. They have more or less the same culture. Here, we are a mini commonwealth, in fact, a huge commonwealth, and 90 countries rolled into right. one with different politics. Suppose Tamil Nadu or Andhra want to abolish the right. Vidhan Sabha and want to go for another election. Why should they look to Delhi? And if what happens in Delhi, in 13 days, Vajpayee government fell. If it falls again, then you will have 28 elections going to the poll once again. Because you cannot keep Lok Sabha without an elected house.
Absolutely. So many changes there. Completely out of time, Dr. Qureshi. Thank you so much. Thank you, Neerja ma'am, for joining us. Cost, convenience, administration, and also logistics, uninterrupted governance are being cited as positives of one nation, one poll. But will the idea actually get implemented? That is something that the BJP will have to shore up numbers for. We'll have to wait and watch what happens to that if the bill really gets introduced in the winter session of the parliament. It's speculated that it will come in next week, is what we understand.